Okay, welcome to part 2 of the video for creating a weapon for killing floor. Okay, this is where we left off. You'll notice I've got the Unreal editor open as well. So in this video we're going to export the mesh using ActorX, import it into Unreal editor, and then we're going to create an idle animation for hip and iron sight mode, and we're going to export and import that as well into Unreal editor. Okay, before we do anything else, I'm just going to change the orientation of the weapon against the bone. So I'm going to select the weapon, I'm going to change this view to top, and you'll notice we're a little bit off. So I'd rather get this perfect first off. Make sure your gun's selected. Okay, we'll undo that move. We'll unselect this first by clicking unlink selection. So now we should be able to move the gun without the bone moving. Like so. We'll get that lined up perfectly. As you can see, it's better aligned. Now we can relink this bone to the gun. Okay. Just check the properties on that. Okay, it's linked to the gun. Okay, so if you go to Tools, you go to More, you should have ActorX installed. If not, you go to the Unreal website and download it from there. But make sure it's the correct version for your version of 3ds Max. Right, first thing to do is your output. So click on Browse and look for the folder where you want to put it. Everything I've been using in the video, I've so far saved in a folder called Tutorial Assets. It's just something I made up on the desktop just to keep everything together. So I'm going to make that our working folder. So there you go. Use path. Right, so everything now you save, PSKs or PSAs, will all be saved in there. We want a mesh file name, so we'll call this Glock. This is more like a Glock than anything, and we'll call it Glock_weapon. And before you click on save, make sure all skin type is selected, all textured is selected, and then only selected is selected. So make sure you put tick in all those 3 boxes. You don't have to in all cases with the only selected. It's just with these arms there is hidden parts in there which we don't want to export. So we're going to go to select by name. We're going to select anything to do with hands. Got to unselect that button. Let's go back to freeform mode, select object mode. Right now, go to select by object. You should be able to select everything to do with hands. Down to hands, right sleeve. Select the root bone. You don't have to select the targets. You want to select the gun, the slide, the trigger, the mag, and the tip bone, and new hands and new sleeves. So now only what will be exported will be anything what's joined to these and no hidden geometry. Okay, just make sure that's all selected and then click on save mesh. And you should get, if all been successful, you should get unsmooth groups and the number of vertices added. Okay. Okay. Open up the editor. First thing we want to do is import our textures. So in the texture browser, go File, Open. No, sorry, I apologise. File, Import. And you want to go to your working folder. Mine's Weapon YVDDS. I don't want to import it into this folder, so I'm going to make a new folder, a new package name. It's got to be called My Glock. You could call this, try and keep it something unique, so I'm going to call it BD Glock. So I usually put BD in front and then I know it's mine. And then underscore capital T. That means for a texture package. All these packages need to have unique names. So for animation I'd put an A, for static meshes I'd put SM, for audio I'd put an A, and in this case for textures I'd put T. Group, we don't need one. Okay, that should import successfully. So you can now save this package. Okay, go to the animation browser, and again, File, go Mesh Import. We want to look for our folder, and we've got glockweapon.psk. Okay. For some reason it started putting administrator in now. I don't know why, so you're going to have to rename that to Glock Weapon. And for the folder, I'm going to call BD Glock underscore A for animation. Okay, so if it was audio, it's usually same, so I'd put an S. Sorry for that confusion. Okay. As you can see, it's imported everything we wanted. Again, the hands, just to make sure everything's imported correctly and all the links done. If you click on View Bone Names, and then click on View Bones, you'll see it in bone mode. And you'll be able to see everything where it's linked. So our weapon, the tip is linked to the gun, slides linked to the gun, triggers linked to the gun, and the gun is linked to the root bone. So that's all okay, everything's imported fine. Okay, so you can then select that and go back to normal view. Okay, you'll notice if you go to the official weapons package, you'll notice the hands and the weapon are very large compared to ours. So while you're in there, go Mesh, copy Mesh Properties, then go back to the package you've just created, Mesh, paste Mesh Properties. Now you've got the exact size and the correct orientation for your weapon. Okay. Open up your skins and your material. Go back to textures, select texture you've just imported. Go back to your animation. And in this case, our hands was number 1, so the weapon should be the second one in the list. You can put a texture on the hands if you want to, but you don't have to, because we'll do that with the code, which will automatically allocate which character you're using. It will give you the correct hand texture. Okay, so we'll click on save there. That's the weapon imported. Okay, so we're going to go back to 3ds Max. We're now going to create an idle animation, and we're going to create this one for hip. So we're going to file, save as, we're going to save this as my 9mm hip idle. Okay, and select everything. Select your gun. first thing to do, if you come down to here, you'll see time configuration, and I think for killing floor weapons the idle is roughly 90 frames long. So we'll go to that 9mm. Oh, 60 frames long. Okay, so idle iron. So you've got idle and idle iron. Idle is when you're at hip. Idle iron is when you're in iron sight mode. They're the same animation, just with slightly different times. There's no movement or anything else, but I'll show you that in a moment. We'll make both idles. Okay, so we'll do hip idle first. Let's go back to your package. Okay, so we want length to be 60 frames long. Okay. Save as you're going along. It's always good to do. Okay, and while we've got the gun selected, first thing I'm going to do is create a key. So click on set key, and you'll see that appear down in the bottom. That's for rotation, scale and position. You then go to animation across the top. You want to add position controller. You want to add an XYZ position controller. Okay. Second, you want to go to rotation controller, and you want to add a Euler XYZ. Okay, and then file, save as you're going along. Okay, now we've got our gun selected. Right, we want to add a transform position controller. We want to add noise. If you right button click on the time, go to controller properties, and go down to gun noise position, you'll get this box come up. Right, for hip, for a pistol, this is what I've taken from Killing Floor's 9mm, so I'm just going to use the same. So for seed, I'm going to put 9, frequency 0.18, X strength 0.2, Y strength 0.2, Z strength 0.3, and unselect fractal noise. Okay. And close that box down, file, save. We now want to add, so we've added a noise position, we now want to add a noise rotation noise. Okay, so right button click again and go to noise rotation. The figures you want in here are 0, 0.08, 1.5, 1.5, and 2.0, and unselect fractal noise again, so you have a nice smooth movement. Okay, file, save. Now if you hit play, make sure you're selected in the perspective, you'll be able to see it better. Hit play, you'll see there's a nice smooth movement. We haven't had to make any animations, this is all done automatically by the system. Okay. For iron sight mode, the numbers are going to be reduced because you want a nice steady, a slower movement, because you're supposed to be steadying the weapon, but we'll get to that in a moment. Okay, so go back to ActorX. We've got our mesh saved, so we don't need to save that again. We need an animation file name, so we're going to call it Glock underscore anim to keep it short. Animation sequence name, we're just going to call this one idle. And the animation range, you want to go from 0 to 60, which will give you 61 frames of animation, including frame 0. Click on digest animation. Should have 61 frames. Okay. Go to animation manager, select idle and move it across using the arrow key. And then click on save. And you should get an OK come up to tell you that it's saved the PSA package. Okay. Back into the editor. File, animation import. Back to our folder, block anim PSA. Okay, select that. We need to rename it again. Okay. Now you go to edit, link up anim and mesh. Now if you press play, you'll see the movement. If you select constant rotation, it'll constantly play the animation so you can see it. As you can see, movement's very jerky and very fast. What we need to do here, stop that, go to sequence, make sure idle selected, sequence properties, and drop the rate down to 5. So now when you play it, it's a nice smooth movement. Okay, we'll save that. Okay. Back to 3ds Max. Save. Alright, now save as Iron Idol. Now we're just going to change our figures for the gun. So we're going to control the properties, noise position. We now want to change it, keep that as 9. We want to drop this down to 0.11 or 11. We want to drop these down to 0.05 so there's less movement. You get a much steadier flow. Okay, right click again, noise rotation. I want to change these to 0.065, 0.05, 0.05 and 0.05 again. Okay, now we should have a much steadier animation. Okay, file, save. Now keep block anim, so you keep that in there. So go idle underscore iron. So that's going to be our new sequence name. Animation range again, 0 to 60. Digest animation. Animation manager. Move that one over and save the package. Okay. Back to the editor. File, animation append, because we don't want to change the frame rate of the animation we already have. If we import it, it'll overwrite it and we'll go back to 30 again. So if you're adding animations and you're happy with the animations you've already got, just click on append. Again, select our block anim. Merge sequences into existing, correct? Okay. So now we've got idle set at 5. We've got idle iron set at 30, which we want to set at 5 to match the idle iron animation. Save again. Okay, now if we play our idle iron, you see some much more steady movement. So that's idle. That's idle iron. You can hardly see it moving, but it is moving. You think when you're trying to steady aim, you don't want it all over the place. Okay, just make sure it's saved. Okay. I'm going to pause here and I'm going to create some files which we're then going to import our new animations, and we're going to see them actually in game. Okay, back again. Okay, in my Killing Floor folder in Steam Apps Common, I've created a folder called BD Glock and a classes folder within that. And from the KF mod folder, I've copied single pickup and single, because that's all we need to start just to get our gun into game to see how it looks. So we're going to rename this first to Glock. I'm going to rename this one to Glock Pickup. Okay, we're going to edit Glock Pickup first. So we're going to change this to Glock. So the file name is the same. Weight will keep everything the same. Item name will change to Glock. Item short name will change to Glock as well. Ammo name will keep the same, we can change that later. Ammo mesh will keep the same. Inventory type, this is most important. You need to change this to the name of your weapon. So in this case it's bdglock.glock. So when you pick it up it knows which weapon it's giving you. Change this to you've got the Glock. Pickup sound, same. Pickup force, static mesh. We will keep it as a 9mm pickup at the moment. Okay, file, save. In the Glock file we need to change quite a bit. So first thing we're going to change is call that to Glock. Okay, we haven't got a light on ours, so we're going to change torch enabled to false. Has aim in mode true. Idle aim mode, idle iron, which is what we've called our, and that's the name of our animation, so that's fine. Weapon reload animation, we haven't got one yet, so we'll put these in later in the next video. HUD image will keep the same. Okay, everything's going to stay the same until we get to the mesh name. Now the skeletal mesh is package name here, so it's bdglock_a.glock_weapon. So we'll put that in name, bdglock weapon. And the skins, we want to put our skin in, which in this case is in mesh. We want skin, we'll leave skin 0 as it is, material 1, just copy that, skins 1, our texture, the save that. And one thing what's not in here is what we're going to have to change. The default for sleeve number is 1, so we're going to put in a new line so it doesn't screw up our mesh. Sleeve num equals 0, so then that will match up with what number our sleeve number is. File save. Should be pickup class as well, and we know ours is bd glock dot glock pickup. Okay, so we should be able to compile this package name. First thing to do is go to your system folder, find your killingfloor.ini file, just at the top, scroll down to edit packages, and add in edit packages equals, and it should be your package name, so in my case it's bd glock. I'll save, keep that open because sometimes it loses the information. Okay, in here I've got a command prompt which I've copied over, so when I open it, it automatically gives me straight to the system folder. So I'm going to type in there UCC make. If all goes well, it's successfully created my Glock weapon. So now back to the editor. I'm going to open up my test map, which I use for everything. Save changes to map note. Okay, this is just a map I've created just for testing everything I make, and so just a single room, couple of lights, and a weapon pickup should suffice. But this is my test bed. Okay, so we're going to go to Actor Class Browser. We're going to go File, Open Package. We're going to open our BD Glock package. Open up Actor. Go down to Pickup, Weapon Pickup, KF Weapon Pickup, and in there you should find a Glock pickup. Okay, have it selected. Right button click anywhere on the floor and add Glock pickup here. At the moment this is 9mm, but we'll change that in later videos. Okay, save that. And now we can test it to see what it looks like in game. Throw this weapon away so I could go and pick it up. It should be around here somewhere. There you go, you've got the Glock. There you go. I know the weapon's not perfect, but there's iron sight mode if you've done everything correctly. As you can see, it doesn't reload because we haven't made an reload animation. If you select it, it doesn't select properly because we haven't made a select or deselect animation. But that's all to come in the future. But there it is. There's a weapon you've made. You can throw it away. be able to throw. Oh no, we can't throw this one because it's following the single. That's okay, we can fix that in later videos. Okay, hope you've enjoyed. Good luck.